How about a quick comparison between a tool set that I showed, I don't know, over 2 years ago I had purchased from the Sears hometown store before that shut down, and pretty much almost all of them shut down. A 450 piece Sears Craftsman tool set, mechanics tool set, versus, I just reviewed this, the 230 piece Lowe's Craftsman tool set. You know, Stanley Black & Decker now does Craftsman, but this one a little special because Sears, you know, they had their own contractors that made their tools, and even though this isn't their USA made stuff, this was still okay quality. This was in their good. I can't remember the name of, I used to know the name of the manufacturer that made these, but they made good tools for what they cost. And you can still get these, and they still have them made. I imagine it's just excess surplus at this point because there's so few Sears stores. I don't think they're ordering this, and judging on how much Craftsman has disappeared from Sears. So the purpose of this video, I want to compare these two, not necessarily on tool count, because I mean that's not fair, 450 versus 230, but just to raise awareness that via Sears.com, or if you happen to have one of the handful of Sears stores near you, you can still get a decent little tool set. I use this in the bike barn here. I bought this for my basement, this Lowe's with this new VersaStack system. So what I'm going to do on this video, I want to talk about what's a better deal, which one you should get, even though, you know, it's kind of unfair, 119 versus 219, but it's almost twice as many tools, not quite, but getting close to 50% more tools. So I'm going to make three comparisons here. I'm going to try to do this fast. The first of which is the Toolbox quality. They both have handles, so you can carry them around and move them around. And I talked with the Sears hometown store about this heavy set. They said this is a rubberized handle with a very solid, as far as plastic goes, a very solid rod that runs through here. They said they'd never had any of these 450 piece sets, the toolboxes, break on them. Now, Sears at the very end here has had another company that makes a smaller tool set. It's not the same format, and those tools aren't even as good. But as far as the container goes, I don't have any lack of faith in this. I've moved it around gosh knows how many times, especially recently. This I don't have any lack of faith in. This is a good sturdy feeling handle. It's 230 piece set. It's just not that heavy. This VersaStack stuff, better than some people think. So as far as the toolboxes go, let me just do this. Let me open this up, and I'll show you the difference between the two as far as functionally. This has a clamshell top. This does not. Of course, you can add on stuff to this. But in this clamshell top, and I'll show you, I haven't actually shown these tools. So let me move the camera over to this box, and I'll give you a quick rundown of these tools because I never showed them off. Okay, so what do we get here? We get the clamshell on the toolbox, and you know, this is cooler grade plastic, I guess you would call it. But inside, up top here, and it's nice to have a clamshell with a little area you can dump stuff. So we've got all the combination wrenches. Now, tool quality wise, I'll get into a comparison in just a minute on that, but get a set of mini wrenches. I also mentioned that. Let me go ahead and show these. Now that they are different, you can go back and watch. But these little mini wrenches, it's just better quality. They're not that chunky weld like on the ones out of that other set. Not to demean the ones out of the other set again, but overall there's things that I like better in some aspects about this Craftsman set. 2 hex wrench sets, a standard and a metric, 20 piece. They're about the same between both. You get a billion of these things. There's a bunch up here, and we'll see a bunch down low. These bit driver bits and some of this stuff, I don't even know what it is. I know all of these, but there's some stuff we'll see down in the bottom here that I don't know what it is, and they kind of cheat a little bit with the number thanks to these. We'll talk about that in a minute too, but for right now we're just showing off this Craftsman set. And this thing is been a nail back a minute ago. That's why this one's open. Trying to prep for this, but here are the sockets. Very, very nice. I like these. I mean, there's some bit drivers. There's the ratchet, these Craftsman, these Sears Craftsman ratchets. Definitely a slight step up feels just a little better selecting, a little more bite. And they're both, I think, 72 point on the ratchets. But I think this just a little better. Plus, I like the round. Well, I don't know. I can go either way. I like the look of the round better. I'll just say that. There are 6 extensions. There are only 3, I think, in the Lowe set. But get a little lower here and look at that. Look at all those sockets. So many of them. It's hard to hold up. They're so heavy. And these are some decently made sockets. The markings a little smaller. But I like this Craftsman set. Let's see that. Let me get to this, the 1/2 inch. Let's see, this ratchet has been used. I've used some of these tools already. More bit stuff, and I don't know if you can see. Missing 2 came like that. I don't know if I just got shorted. I haven't counted each individual one of these. And we'll be talking about tool counts in just a minute. But that's a Craftsman set. Yeah, it's a nice little set. There's your overview of it. But let's talk about this toolbox and which toolbox is better. So I need to move the camera for that. Between these two, I have used a set like this years ago. I had, I think it was a 250, maybe 278 piece set that was just like this, practically just a bit smaller. I think it was only 2 drawer. I never had a problem. I was worried about the weight of the 450, but I've moved around this a lot, or moved this around a lot. I haven't had any issues whatsoever, but it is hard, you know, like that every time. I'm bending fingernails and stuff every time on this. So this is okay for what it is, but there's not really any expandability. The only expandability you have is just a small little dip there to put anything into. Now you get to this Lowe's Stanley Black & Decker Craftsman with VersaStack, and Sears invented VersaStack, but this isn't VersaStack. This toolkit comes in a VersaStack toolbox. So while this isn't really expandable, I mean, everything is in its own little spot here. None of these tools, and you have to pull this out, by the way, to even get to the bit sets. You can't even get to some of the tools back in there, where this one, I pull out as far until as far as you can go without it dropping, and I can access every tool. I'm not even going to clip that back. On this one, you can't do that. You have to, but you can take it out with the tabs and get to all the tools. But this is an easy winner over this one as far as toolbox wise, because of VersaStack. Because I don't know if you can see the end of it moving around here, but I went and I bought a new VersaStack setup just to show you how easy it works. So let me move the camera. I'm going to show you. This lays right on here, and then these side clips clip into place. And there, I've just doubled the size of this, and check this out. These tabs can come out, these divider tabs. So if I had, you know, the socket strips where you can put your sockets on there, I can take these divider strips, I can put stuff in the divider sections or divided sections, or I could take these out and I could put tools in just like a regular toolbox. You know, that's kind of a big deal. That makes this a regular toolbox, and it's pretty sturdy. Lifting it up, put it back on this. Lifting it up, I don't feel like this is gonna break. And check this out. Open one of these, move the camera here. Look at those rails. I mean, that's tool chest quality stuff here with VersaStack. Needless to say, that pushes, at least for segment 1 or factor 1, that's what I'm going to call them, factors, because I have 3 of them, actually 4, but 3 main ones. And that's going to push, even though I have some heritage with Sears, and I'm very confident in these tools, as we'll see when we get to a comparison. Toolbox wise, it's hands down. it's going to be a win for the Lowe's Craftsman with this VersaStack, because this is a good base that comes free with the tools. It's VersaStack, it's expandable, and you can just keep going. Like this new section that I just bought, look at that. You see that on camera? I can keep stacking stuff, and there's roll around cases and all kinds of stuff. You could put a roll around case on the bottom of this, all kinds of things. It's very flexible. So that's going to be the win here, at least on this. So 1-0 so far. Factor 2, tool quality comparison, and I think you're going to see this is kind of a wash. They're very similar. Here's the combination wrenches. Guess which one goes with which set? Let's see, anything really all that different between these two? I can tell you this is rounded a little bit more here, and I think just a hair thicker than this, and this is out of the Sears set. I've used probably this one many times. I know the 13 I've used a lot, but I've used this many times, these opened ends already, or combination wrenches already. But this a little thicker and a little more roundy, but yeah, I would trust one just as much as I would trust the other. So those are about the same. Socket wise, let me grab some of the sockets here. I've got so many more sockets, but let's just go up to 3/8 inch on this. And let me grab, what's this? This is a 13 millimeter, no, it's 12, another 12. Didn't I just do 12? There's this socket. I mean, you know, okay quality, nothing I think anyone's going to have any problems with. So let me find the 12 millimeter here. 12. Here's out of this, get it on the right side. Here's out of the Sears. I mean, other than some fingerprints here, they're very similar. Now, one thing I can say, I like the slightly larger numbering. The Sears set, it's small. Now my good, I've got it behind me, my Made in the USA set, it's laser etch. Actually, let me go ahead and grab one of those. Yeah, compared to my Made in the USA set, you can see the laser etching. So easy to read, well used. Now, one interesting thing, this is kind of a silvery chrome on the, right here. This is kind of a silvery chrome on the Sears set. This kind of has a little just faint goldiness to the tint, which is very much like the old Made in the USA color. It's a lot closer. This is kind of the more whitey chrome. But overall, I think, get this back out of the way here. Make sure I put my USA tool up so I don't lose that. But overall, you know, all these tools, with the exception of the ratchets, we'll talk about in just a second, very much. I mean, I like the larger text on these, but I like that this has the serrated grip that goes all the way around, where this only has one little section. You know, when you're picking stuff up, that kind of helps. But overall, all of these tools, one I can't really pick over the other. I view them as equals, except for the ratchets. Here is the 3/8 out of this set. I talked about it when I reviewed this set. You know, it's okay. It's got a little, some gunmetal on it. It's pretty funny, but it's okay. Let me get the 3/8 inch out of this Craftsman, or the Sears set. I keep saying Craftsman. Out of the Sears set. Now, I like this design. Used to pay more for this rounded polished stuff, but the one thing I can say, clicking this, you know, it's okay. It's a nice, okay click, and the ratcheting is okay. But when I then go to this, it is a more definite click, and the ratcheting on it, I mean, can you hear the difference? They're both 72, what do you call that? 72 point on the ratchet, or 72, I forget if it's cog or whatever you call it, but they're both about the same as far as the clickiness point to point, but clicking one versus the other, this Sears set is definitely, and there's just not a lot of play. This one, see, I've got a considerable more bit of play versus this one. Ratchet wise, I like this better, but I don't distrust this any more than this one. I feel like either would work just as well as the other. Now, curiously, some of these tools, do I even have anything that's, what is this extension here and this extension about the same size? Yeah. Let's see, some of these tools I noticed the part numbers were the same on, even though it's Sears versus Craftsman. This is 44264 and this is 44264. So see, these have the exact same part number, and that's going to come to my bonus. When we get to my bonus segment, at the end of this, we're about to be at factor 3, but I'm going to give you a bonus factor, and this is going to play into that. But here's the Lowe's. You can tell by the limited serrations there, and there's no serrations on this one from the Sears set, but they're, you know, pretty much the same when it comes to tool quality. So I'm gonna call that a wash. Ooh, you know, one thing I do want to show, where are they? Where are those little, there they are. Remember we got the midget wrench set, and I opened it and I talked about how they were kind of blocky. I want to show you, compared to the one from the Sears kit. I'm just going to grab one at random here. They're probably not going to be the same size, but come on, fingers, work. Here's one. So here's the Sears set. It's not blocky, and look at that. Compared to that, look at the thickness difference. So if thickness is your thing as far as tools go, well, I really wish I wouldn't have said it like that, but cracking myself up here. But I don't like the way they welded that. I mean, it's just rough. Which one would hold up better? I don't know. I would put my money on this. But that is an interesting little difference. So there are pluses and minuses probably to each different set. But overall, I think it's a wash between the two. Quality of the hex wrenches are going to be the same. So 1, and then an extra 1. So 2 and 1 in favor of the Lowe's VersaStack 210 set. But there's factor 3. Factor 3 is effective tool count, because both of them lie. And they lie because they'll do stuff like this, and they count each and every one of these little bits as a tool. While technically true, when you think about a tool set, you don't think about a small little bit. A flathead bit, you got two different flathead bits side by side, and you don't think about those being two different tools. And there's more fluff, so we'll talk about that. Let me go ahead and open a drawer here. So we've got visual representation. Now another thing about these toolboxes, I don't know if you just saw, they jump around in this one. They jump around a lot when I'm moving them. They don't do that on the VersaStack, so even more credence for this as a toolbox. But as far as factor 3, let me just run down some numbers here for you. This, I actually have cheat sheets. Here is the original outer wrapping for this one. You can see, this is what it comes with. 191 sockets. That's a big deal. Compare that to the one for this 230 piece set, and they diffused it a little because they broke them down. But basically, there are 91 sockets in this set versus the 191 for the Sears set. Now, and I know you could make the argument it's $100 more, but I want to mention, I just have some numbers I'm going to run down. So let me pull this out. Again, visual aid. There are 3 ratchets in this set. I'm going to go by Sears and then I'll talk about this one. In the Sears set, there are 3 ratchets. There are 6 extensions. So get to these. There are 6 extensions here. There are 191 sockets. And that is a combination of 6-point, 8-point, and 12-point. There are 16 combo wrenches. That's 12 of the large ones and 4 of the midget combo wrenches. There are 12 nut drivers. There are 175 screwdriver bits. Remember I had all these up in the top here? I also have, can you barely see them there? I have all of these down here. Even had a couple with the missing point in there. 175 of those. 40 hex keys. That's 20 and 20. I had 6 adapters. And these adapters, these are tools. Like this 1/4 inch adapter. 1/4 inch to 3/8. Here's a 3/8 to 1/4 inch. There's a 3/8 to 1/2 inch, and so on. Those are actual tools. I consider those sockets. So that's tools. But here's the thing. I added all those numbers up. 3, 6, 191, 16, 12, 175, 40, and 6. Something interesting happened. That's 449. Well, 449 is not 450, is it? So how did they get 450? The toolbox. This 3-drawer toolbox is part of the 450 count. Very, very shady. But not only that, I don't count the tools the way that they count them. So I'm going to give you an effective tool count. I'm going to count everything that's a socket as a tool. I'm going to count the ratchets. I'm going to count the extensions. I'm going to discount a few things. This, to me, this isn't 40 tools. This is 2 tools. This is 1 set of metric and 1 set of standard hex wrenches. That's how I'm going to count this. That's how I'm going to count that. I'm not even going to count all these 175 bit driver, whatever you call them, bit driver bits, screwdriver bits. And by the way, I talked about some of this stuff. I didn't even know what it is. Show you. What is that? I've never even seen. I don't know what these are. But there's a lot of them, but I'm only going to count them as 1 because what I count is this. Now that's a tool. That's the bit driver. You can see they got 1. So maybe that's out of the 1 slot was here. Either I put that in or they had it in there by default. But this is a tool. I don't count all those others. So that's just 1. So minus 175 minus 38, because this is just 2 to me, standard and inch, or standard and metric, excuse me. And I am going to count the adapters because those are sockets. So you take a lot of that stuff out and get down to what I consider base tools. That's 225. So there are 225 tools here. Now, let's compare that to this 230 piece set. This has 3 ratchets. It has 3 extensions where this had 6. It has 91 sockets, 191 here. It has 16 bit sockets. Bit sockets, there are a few of those. Some of them are tucked up back in there. But there are the bit sockets. There's 16 of those. There are 8 combination wrenches. There are 13 mini wrenches out of that, so a considerably larger mini wrench set. Specialty bits. 66 of these. By the way, another benefit to this VersaStack, you can just lock the tools right up there into the top, lay them on the top, so good there. But 66 specialty bits. Here's another deception. Let me get this back down. So we've got our hex wrenches. Remember, I only count 1 set and 1 set. They did something ultra shady. Show you this. So they did 28 long arm hex wrenches. So there's going to be 14 here and then 14 on the metric side. Then they have some short arm. We call this 16 short arm, so 8 and 8. But I want you to look at some of these when I get to the small. They're duplicates. Those are the exact same length, some of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these are the exact same thing, just on a different little holder here. So I don't count that. I call that 2 sets. Just 1 set of standard and 1 set of metric. There's 1 bit adapter and there's 1 spinner handle. And I believe this is what they're calling the spinner handle, close as I can figure. I've actually used this already as well. But that gives this set, get this back over here. So let me put this. So that makes this set, if I start minusing things, I'm 1 for the hex wrenches, or 1 each for the hex wrenches. I take away the 66 specialty bits because I just consider that part of the nut driver, and so on. When I take all that away, just like I did, the same takeaways, 122 pieces is the effective count of this set. Now, one cool thing about Lowe's, they didn't count the box. This is VersaStack, you know, I mean, arguably, they could have counted that because it's VersaStack, but they didn't. Unlike Sears, who thought that this is a tool in itself, just this plastic box. So, comparison-wise, you know, it's $100 more, so it's not really a fair comparison, $219 to $119. But at the end result, there's, what, 122 versus 225. So there are 103 more usable tools in this set. Is that worth $100 more? To me, it is. So let's wrap this up. I want to count my factors. So factor 1 was toolbox quality. This one, hands down, because it's VersaStack. And this, usable. I'm okay with it, but nothing I would pay for. I would buy this on its own. I did buy VersaStack on its own. So I would buy just this VersaStack setup by itself. I don't know of anybody that would pay, you know, go out of their way unless they're replacing a broken one, would pay for just this little toolbox. So 1 to 0. Tool quality, factor 2, it's a wash. There are things that I like a little better about this Sears set. There's some things that I like a little better about this Lowe set. So that's a wash. So that's 1 to 2. Now we're going to do the effective tool count. That was factor 3, 122 versus 225. A little unfair in that this costs $100 more. But if you're looking for more tools, I would lean towards this. If you're on a budget, lean towards this. But just comparing the two, since I have them, I like this a little better as far as the actual tool count. Plus I'm factoring in, you know, I really like that ratchet. So tool count, get more with this. $100 more, but that's fine. So that's a tie. 2 to 2. There's one extra thing. I said there was that extra factor that I didn't even number, and that's warranty. Sears no longer owns Craftsman. So warranty, unless you have a local Sears store, which you're not going to have unless you're just a handful of people. I think there's only about 3 left. You can't just walk in, and even if you did, they probably aren't even going to have the tools anymore. So that means all the warranty goes through Stanley Black & Decker. Now some of this stuff, I showed. Some of the sockets, the part numbers are the same. Like if I pulled this socket out of here, the part number would probably be the same. So if that breaks, you can go into Lowe's and swap it out. If not, they don't have it. Like this ratchet. This ratchet is different than this one. If this one breaks and Lowe's has it, I can go replace it. I can't walk in there with this one because they don't have that part number. They would tell me to contact craftsman.com or call Craftsman. Well, that could be in their warranty. They will warranty it. They will give you the equivalent ratchet, so they probably give you a ratchet like is out of this set. They will warranty, but it might take you 2-3 weeks. In theory, most of this stuff I could warranty by walking into a Lowe's, like you used to could do with Sears, and oh how I miss you, Sears. So sad what Eddie Lampert did to you. But that makes it a win for this, because that's 3 and 2. The case, this toolbox, the VersaStack, the warranty pushes it over the edge, being that the tools are pretty much a wash. So there's my comparison between the two. I hope you found it helpful, and I did want to just raise a little awareness that there is still Sears.com. I'm not making anything by this. I'm not sponsored or anything like that. But Sears.com does still exist, and you can still get this 450-piece tool set from Sears.com. So if you're out after the max number of sockets, given that they're going to be about the same quality, you might want to consider this if you're looking to fill out your socket inventory. If you're looking for expandability or with an eye towards the future, then definitely this would be the way to go. because not only do you get some good tools and you get this Versa stack as a base, but you can add on to it as I've just shown, and it impressed me. No wonder it was $41. I wondered why a piece of plastic was $41. I knew it was a little heavier plastic, but now I know. It's more. It's the metal rails. It's the modular nature of it. Yeah, pretty nice. So, I hope this helped you out. Comment below if it did, and comment below with what you even think about Craftsman these days. I appreciate you watching. Have a great day.